Welcome to the show, Claudia Cortez. Tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and how you came to be involved in space.
I am an educator. I teach high school engineering, and I uh, pretty much teach all the pathway, the engineering fields. I do aero, I do civil engineering, I teach design is another one, and a lot of mechanical engineering in my classes. So I got involved in STEM when I was in high school. I had a passion to be a computer engineer. So that's where it all started. Um, I mean, I didn't really pursue it right after high school. So I pursued it later on when I was already teaching in middle school. So I was teaching at the same time I was going to university and
A
college.
lot, yeah.
Um, so it was a heavy load. But eventually that's how I got more into STEM and going back into the learning more about NASA programs and what's available out there for the students and how to get them engaged and motivated into the field.
So you were teaching and then you went back to school in a different career field. Why? What was it that had kind of kept you from pursuing that career field to begin with?
At the very beginning, I went into accounting. So I finished my degree. I did senior project accountant. I was a senior project accountant for 5 years. And then eventually I went into education. I guess seeing the students and what they wanted, uh, more than likely to get them engaged. Knew for a fact NASA engaged me when I was in high school and elementary and middle school. So I wanted to look and see what was out there for them. So that's what brought me back into the engineering field. So that's how
I,
I.
I think that's so cool, Claudia, because like you, I started out in industry, right? Not in the teaching field with my degrees and my work. Then got involved with education as you did. But now, as an educator, going back to school, I can tell you I'm much, much older than you are. And I'm about to finish a master's in aerospace science. And it is hard going back to school when you're a full-time teacher, right? I think sometimes the worst students are educators, right? Because we have all these patterns and things. But I really applaud you for working on this STEM degree after and while you're an educator, because that's a heavy load. I want to know more about where you're from and in Texas. I believe you're from Texas, right? Tell us about your school where you teach, and tell us about your students. And obviously, they're really fortunate to have so much real world experience. But tell us a little bit about your school.
Okay, I'm from Brownsville, Texas. I was born here and raised here. I pretty much we're down South Texas, the very tip of Texas. That's where we're at. It is now commonly very well known because of Boca Chica spaceport. Elon has his company down here, so we are here. We're SpaceX. We have space. We always say that we have SpaceX in our backyard, and I mean that's what also is motivating our kids because we have someone from the industry down here and creating more jobs, more opportunities for them.
Right.
And that's where I'm from. I teach at Gladys Porter Early College High School. I've been teaching there for the past 8 years in engineering and computer science classes. So that is where our area is. My area is. We are a border town, so many of the, uh, I guess, students do come um, as a background from as a border town. So it is interesting. Many of them are first generation,
Right.
first college students. So it's motivating to see them.
Yeah,
Right.
I bet that's rewarding.
Well, first of all, the jobs that he's brought, those are good paying jobs too. Not just jobs, but jobs with potential. You can have a nice career in the fields working on these rocket bodies, rocket engines, spacecraft, all of that. Do you have a lot of kids that are learning English while they're trying to learn the engineering? And I imagine that your school probably moves fluently between English and Spanish during the school day.
Right. So we do have a lot of we call them English language learners. Uh, so we do, they're bilingual students, and they do, I guess the terminology at first would be hard for somebody coming in, not familiar, pretty much familiar with mathematics concepts, but not the terminology in English, you can say. But yeah, we do get a lot of those students. It is majority. We do have about half of our school. Our school is about 1,600 students in population, and we do have over 800 English bilingual students. So
You're at, you said you're at, as a college, right?
No, early
Oh,
college, high
early
school.
college. So
Early
it's high
college.
school, right, right. So early college, high school is basically, is it more focused on the idea of prepping them for a trade beyond, or is it for college prep in general all the way around?
Like, or is it dual enrollment?
Right. We offer dual enrollment classes. So many students we had a cohort of about 30 kids last year that got their associate's degree while still going to high school. So a lot of dual enrollment classes, summer classes. That's what the students do in order, and that's why it's called an early college high school.
Right. So,
Have they been able to set up any internships with Elon Musk's, with the groups there, or any other of the industry that might be there?
Not yet. No, not yet. But we have been in talks with them.
Oh, that's good. That
CTE,
would really help, right? To
our,
be able to have a
yes,
pathway into that.
absolutely. Our CTE has been in talks with them, and our city has also been in talks with the as Elon that's here, and then industries that are coming into the area.
right. I would imagine that your students, if it's like what I'm thinking is they're basically getting half of their bachelor's degree at no cost while they're in high school. So that's in the age where a lot of people say, college is too expensive, especially depending on what degree you pursue, to be able to lower the barrier, helping kids get into college and getting half of it done, at least for an undergrad. That's needed, right? It's a very needed. Do you have a good community college that you partner with on things like technician training or any kind of certification programs? I don't know if there's we visited San Jacinto Community
Right.
College when we were in Houston, and I was really impressed with them about how they get people from where they are to some skills to employment. Do you have something similar in Brownsville that you think might be up and coming because of SpaceX?
We do. Similar to San Jacinto that we visited, we have our Texas Southmost College here down in Brownsville. And then we also have the university, UT RGV, in our area. TSC, again, has a lot of dual classes with Brownsville ISD. So
Okay, teacher, you're using way too many acronyms. Okay, you dropped a whole bunch of letters. I just want to make sure. University of Texas has a satellite campus, and was it like the Rio Grande? You used 3 letters, but it sounded to me in my head maybe
CTE.
no,
RGV,
RGB.
yeah, Rio Grande Valley.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's our local university, and it spans from Edinburgh, McAllen area down to Brownsville area. So it's a big. They have satellite campuses all over the Rio Grande Valley, and then TSC, which is Texas Southmost College here in Brownsville. They provide a lot of dual classes while in high school. So students have the opportunity to take them. We do offer certifications in the high school classes. The engineering students do have the chance to obtain the Engineering Technology Foundations certification through NOCTI, and that's the one that I offer for them.
This is great. I'm going to want to talk to you offline about your certification program for young kids. So
Sure.
And I want to talk a little bit about, you have an impressive list of organizations or professional development that you've taken part in. Let's talk about some of those that you feel were most instrumental in helping you to be successful in the classroom.
Of course. The first one, and that's the one that opened the doors to many other ones, was Liftoff. Liftoff is a national one. They call it, back then it was Texas Space Grant Consortium that started it, and then it went off to be the Center for Space Research, Liftoff. And that's the one I participated 2 years back to back. It got me hooked, got me into it. And then I think that's the one that really opened my eyes and say, okay, you have to go back to school, finish this, because that
Right.
was one of your dreams. So
is it a residential type summer program? Is it at a university? Give us enough of an idea about why it was such a good life-changing PD for you.
it was a 1 week, kind of like Limitless, 1 week professional training for teachers. We went off to, it was in Houston, centered in Houston. They brought in engineers, astronauts, different people from the STEM community around the Houston area. They provided like small trips to different to either NASA Johnson Space Center, the Moon Rock facility at NASA Space Center. So I think it was just the experience itself. It was catching. So that's what helped. It was 50 teachers that were selected, so around the nation. So I think it was a good accomplishment. And
I know. Do you know Florida Space Grant actually advertises and wants to support, a Florida educators if they are selected. I will tell you, I had a similar 20 years ago at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. They did teach space. I know what you mean when you get that professional development that, number one, is so enjoyable. You almost don't want it to end, but then you want to go back and employ and use all the things you've learned. So that makes sense.
Well, I think it's because when you attend PDs like that, and they are rare, right? You're actually seeing where the industry people are coming to you, and you're able to see the connections. Like if we treated education in preparation for an industry, whatever that industry is, every child's interest can find a space within that, right? And so I think that that's what's happening. They're bringing people from the community. You're seeing the connections. These are real applications. Now I can take it back to my students and help inspire them too.
Right. So
you mentioned Limitless Space. I know Kevin we've talked a lot about Limitless Space. So how did you find out about Limitless Space? Was it just one of those natural progressions from the other groups, or how did you become involved, and what were your thoughts on that program?
I think the group of teachers that we talked to, I've kept up with talking to some of the Limitless teachers for a while now. And Casey, which is a director for Limitless Education, she was the one that said, this is open, I would like for you to apply. So that's what I did. I mean, I said, I never say no to an application or to something.
No,
or
an opportunity, right? Like even if
you don't have to turn something down until it's actually offered to you, right?
Right. Yeah.
Did you know Casey? By the way, we offered to interview Casey by herself, but she wanted to do it with Sunny. So we did a podcast with Casey and Sunny together. But did you know Casey prior? Like a lot of you guys seem to know, you connected through Seek, right? And so that's very popular, it seems like, for especially the educators in the central part of the country or Texas.
Remember, our listeners might not know what SEEK is. You talked about
SEEK
acronyms.
is a Space Educators Exploration Conference. Did I get that right?
Yes. The one in Houston, correct?
Yes. I only went 1 year, which was last year. And of course, but did you know Casey prior to applying to LSI?
Right. Yes, I met Casey like 10 years ago. That's where we met at a NASA Explorer Schools program. So that's where we known each other. We were there at the Space Telescope Institute for about a week. I mean, maybe just, and that's where I got to know her. And then we just kept in touch via Facebook, online.
Right.
So that's how I've known her for a while now.
How do teachers find out? So if there are people who are listening and they want, like, I've not heard of these organizations or these conferences or whatever, where do you go to find out about opportunities if they don't just happen to come in your email box?
Right. I think the major now you can learn through them is through Seek, which uh, uh, was mentioned, and also through Space Port Conference over there in Florida. I
Right.
think those are the major gathering points that you can say, okay. And then just looking around, researching online. I know Alabama, the center, where is it, the one that has the programs for teachers as well. And then there's different ones. You just have to, I would say that's what I did, and it worked for me.
You
Like
found ones that were close, and then from there
Right.
you met other people. Spaceport, you mentioned, is the one in Kennedy
It's
Space
a
Center.
it's a June. I think it's a June conference in Kennedy.
Right, that's the June summer conference.
Yeah, I was going to say, space is limitless, space is vast and infinite, but the community of space educators is pretty tight, and it's sort of like you have this, even though you're dispersed across the country, we sort of run into each other frequently, often, and it's pretty collegial. Would you agree with that?
Yes, we're very tight. I think after we met somewhere or seen each other one time somewhere, uh, it unites us, and you keep in touch with that person, and you learn more as you go. And that's the interesting thing, is keeping the friendships going.
Right.
When I think it's too, I think back to like being, in a classroom, and sometimes it's difficult because yes, you have colleagues that are there, but the interests are so different, and you can be collegial, but not necessarily inspired all the time. So it's important to find people within that community so that teaching becomes, renewed, and that you're having new ideas constantly coming that you can share with your students as well. So it's you're creating your tribe, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's it. Fun part.
Part of me thinks there's nothing new under the sun, right? And what we end up doing is we end up finding all the best practices, and I like how people are willing to share what they know and how they do things, and it really is it's wonderful to be able to cherry pick 10 new ideas when you go meet a bunch of teachers and say, oh, I can use these in my class and it'll make me better. Yes, let's pivot a little bit to LSI and what let's for our listeners, Limitless Space Institute. Miss Claudia is an ambassador now. She's an educator. I guess we were educators, but you're an ambassador. What do you see? What do you think is the potential with LSI? What would you like to accomplish there?
Like the main focus is creating things that possibly nobody has created yet, for lessons, for activities, and bringing them back to our students and sharing them testing them, and sharing the activity with them, and testing if it works. Because as an engineer, I mean, that's what I do on a daily basis. I tell students, okay, you built this, but does it work? Or do we
Right.
need to redesign? So we did a lot of that during the summer, me and my partner, Marianne. So we tested the propulsion systems, and specifically we tested the Eon thrusters. And when I came back, I told the kids about my experience, and we built a 3D printed Eon thruster. So because it's high school, I wanted it to be a little bit more engaging for them. So that's what I brought back from the Limitless.
So
And
I'm a little confused on the thrusters. So was this an assignment that you guys had at LSI, and you had to like create something that you then brought back?
We had to create. We got to the freedom to create our own. So this is your idea.
Create your own what though? That's the part I'm not following.
it's an activity or a lesson that can be.
Okay, you create a lesson that you could take back to your class, and you created something with thrust, like with rockets.
It's a propulsion system.
Okay.
So because I guess my interest in propulsion, that's why I got involved with it. And we brought it back, and I shared it with my kids, and we tested it, 3D printed a neon thruster, and that's how one activity that was created. And then we started to test it with different things. Well, what if we use simple things that teachers have? Balloons, craft sticks,
Rubber band.
the little rotary tools, and make it easier maybe for middle school or elementary.
Or even elementary, right? Because that's what I'm
Right.
thinking. Oftentimes we often forget, we think that the littlest of our students, yeah, they're not ready for that, but they can be if we bring it down to their level.
Right.
And there are a lot of schools that simply, you might even have a great teacher with a lot of heart and passion, but they don't have resources. So
making it simple. Yeah.
That's great. I forgot to ask you, when you were in your classroom, how far geographically miles is your school from the launch pad at Boca Chica?
Oh, we're about 20. You can say 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you have a seismometer, or can you measure the vibrations when they're testing engines out there?
And I don't have one, but we do feel them. We feel, yes, when I guess the launch back in April or May, the heavy rocket, it was a cloudy day, so it was hard to view and see. But from where we're at the school, which is about 20 minutes from the site, we could feel it. It was a roaring thunder all across the city, so it was pretty fun. Yeah.
Wow, you are in the right place at the right time, aren't you?
Yes, we are.
Well, what do you see in the future? Let's say if you could accomplish anything you wanted to in the next 5 years with your students or in your own professional life, what do you hope that happens? What do you hope you see, or what do you hope happens?
I see myself leaving education in the next year or so, and eventually going into the field, being part of a mission, maybe a lunar mission, maybe a Mars mission. But I see myself opening the door maybe for the students that I already had, that are already engineers, for them to actually continue and be part maybe of a organization that is into STEM and space travel. So
are you interested in relocating out of Texas if need be?
I love Texas. So maybe I'll probably stay around Texas. Houston area is one possibility, San Antonio area. But if it is a necessity, I mean, of course, I would travel up to any other part, but I love Texas too much.
Well, in my mind, I'm thinking you have Firefly in Texas. Firefly is a new space company, and they actually have an opportunity for students to apply to get free rides for their satellites. Firefly's in Texas. We live in a county that has Aerojet Rocketdyne, and they build rocket engines. So next Wednesday, I get to take 6 kids to the factory and watch a rocket engine being tested, which, who doesn't like that kind of day, right?
Right.
Well, this has been, I really enjoyed it. Out of the people, we did not ride in the same vehicles for the week we were in Houston. Actually, I think you drove yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I was sorry that I did not get to spend more time with you, but I really appreciate your background and what you're hoping to do. And I'm wishing you the best. And we're looking forward to seeing and learning of good things that you're going to do.
Thank you.
Our last question always revolves around advice, and just talking with you prior to us getting started, I know you have some great advice for those either students out there or just people in general who might have had a dream that maybe they didn't get to. So as our closing question, what advice do you have for our listeners?
I think what I would tell anyone out there, either a teacher that had a dream or a student that has a dream, even though life takes you in a different path at some point, And in the back of in your mind, you had that you wanted to do something or be part of something, you can always come back to it, and it's never too late. That's pretty much what I tell my students. It's never too late to start something, and the sky's the limit. I mean, whatever your dream is, keep going, push yourself, and it will get done. It will get accomplished.
Well, that's perfect. Well, we really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much. And I know that Kevin and you will be talking offline a little bit more as well. So thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.